I would never recommend that to anybody else, but tell me about it, Andy.
Corey, let's hope to God that guy leaves and Andy Hobica doesn't come in after him.
Exactly.
'Cause I'm not leaving without the sale.
Right,
I'm
right,
not 100%, but like, no, man,
right.
if you leave the house, you're probably not getting the sale. You have to have that mindset.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Booked or Busted. I have a special edition today. This is Booked or Busted Shop Talk edition. So we're not going to be making a phone call. We're not going to be scoring a call center today. I have a very special guest in the house. We are going to be talking about some really good stuff. I have a HVAC sales goat in the house today that I'm excited to introduce to you today. That's going to give us some insights on, hey, let's answer that question today. Does the call center impact what happens in the field, especially around selling technicians and comfort advisors? Now, this is something I talk about a lot, so we're going to get the perspective from somebody that's been in the field a long time, that's been selling in the field a long time. So I'm really excited about this. I'm sure I'm going to learn a ton today. I want to introduce my special guest, and that's Andy Hobica. Hobica. So, Andy, I'm happy to have you here. Really excited to have you here. Before we get into anything about how call center impacts what's going on in the field, I want to hear a little bit about your story. So, just to let the viewers know, me and Andy just met recently, actually, on Facebook Messenger. Don't underestimate the relationships you can build through Facebook Messenger, right, Andy?
Yeah.
And we just had a conversation about really about our journeys. And one thing that we had in common is how we view our fathers. My dad was a big hero, as most of the viewers know, a big hero of mine, one of my biggest mentors. I see him as one of the goats in the industry. Andy feels the same way about his father as well. So, Andy, tell us a little bit about your story and your journey to get to where you are today.
So most people know the history of Hobica if you know who I am or you've heard of Hobica Services. Been around since 1952. The short version is my grandfather was drafted into the war. When he got out of the war, he took his GI Bill, went to Phoenix College, and got his electrical license, and then learned some handyman stuff, and then got into refrigeration. Okay. So he actually started Hobica's refrigeration in 1952 in Phoenix, Arizona. Fast forward some years, my dad bought it in the 80s. And then, fast forward to me is basically I've been working for my dad since I was about 10, 11 years old. And I've done everything in the HVAC, plumbing, electrical world. So I worked in the sheet metal shop, building ductwork, elbows, transitions, doing all the, gritty stuff, cleaning up the shop, loading trucks, loading bins, up to a parts runner, up to installing every summer from sixth grade and up every summer, and then full-time tech for 12, 13 years, into a selling tech, into a comfort advisor, and the rest is history.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I appreciate you sharing that, Andy. All right, well, let's get into our discussion today. You've been selling for how long, Andy?
Actual sales position where I'm actually selling and making commission, probably about 16 years.
16 years. So lots of experience in the field. I love probably one of my favorite things, obviously, my dad being, that was his gift, sales training. So I special place in my heart for sales. I'd spent years as a comfort advisor as well as a selling technician in the field. So let's go. Let's talk about this. What do you think the impact is on the call center with what happens in the field? So the first question, let's talk about this: jobs won or lost before arrival. What impact do you think that how the CSR sets up the call, is that affecting whether that job's going to get won or lost? Does that have an impact
Oh,
there?
yeah, huge, right? So if the CSR answers the phone and someone says, I want a quote, or
Hmm.
it was a flip by a technician and the CSR is reaching out to, schedule it,
Yeah.
it comes down to their freaking tonality. Are they happy? Are they smiling on the phone? I love that one. Like I heard it 15
Yeah.
years ago. It's like, are you smiling on the phone? And people look at you, receptionists, like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean smiling on the phone? I'm like, are you happy? Does the person on the other side of the phone believe that you're having a good day? Because if not, you
Right.
need to go back and reset yourself because the customer can feel the tension whether you're being genuine or not, right?
Yeah.
So
Energy is
like how,
transferable.
how how we do it. Good morning, it's Melissa with
Mm.
Hobica Services. It's currently 73 degrees outside. How can I make your day better? Like it's just being happy on the phone, and then like most of the people that are calling in are frustrated and irritated, and they just want to get someone over
Yeah.
to the house to give them a price so they can get their 5 quotes and pick somebody. But at the end of the day, if you allow them to show that you're having a good day and you're just there to help them and be that person, when the comfort advisor gets there, they're like, well. you're setting this high standard, you better be just as happy as the CSR was on the phone.
Yeah, I agree, Andy. I think positivity is one of the biggest things. And I tell CSRs that. I teach a lot, the call flow and different techniques, things you need to do, but and just having that upbeat attitude makes the customer feel good.
Yeah.
And so you would agree that when a tech makes the customer, or when a CSR makes the customer feel good, and has that positive attitude, energy is transferable, right? It is transferable. We know the customer's negative most of the time when they're calling, right? If they have a service need or if they're broke down, and also even if they have to replace their HVAC system, that's not somebody that's happy and smiling, right? It's not like they're going to buy a new car or a TV. It's not a pleasure purchase, right? We know that.
Yep.
It's avoiding more pain purchase, right? It's
Yep.
peace of mind purchase. And so we know they're negative. So if we have to combat that with that positive attitude, with going in there. So I think that's a big one in how we set our technicians up for
Yeah.
success. So the
And then
next one
also,
is,
go ahead.
yeah. No, no, go finish.
Well, I was just going to say the only other thing that I would add is basically making the comfort advisor maybe seem more busy than they really are, or that make them feel more important than they are. So if you call in to me, and let's say it's dead slow and it's the springtime and it's nice outside, and I have 4 comfort advisors with no calls, and you call in and you want to quote, I'm going to say, hey, yeah, I actually have availability today. 8 to 12. I mean, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 1 to 2, 3 to 5, 5 to
Yeah,
7. What would you like? It's like, man, like you guys have nothing to do. Versus, well, tomorrow we're getting busy. I could probably fit you in sometime in the morning, maybe the afternoon. What works better for you? I'll try to work around your schedule.
yeah, I like that. That's
Don't seem
great.
so needy. I hear it, and we used to do
Yeah,
that too. But I'll hear it in other call centers, or you go to a site visit, and I'm like, it just sounds like you're like, hey, we have nothing to do today except sell you a system. When can we come over?
exactly. It's terrible. Yeah, you don't want to see them wide open. And so
Yeah,
no, that's great. That's great. And comfort advisors tend, if they're not selling techs, if they're not running service calls, and what
yeah,
do you call them, by the way, Andy? Do you call them comfort advisors, or what would you?
yeah,
So comfort advisors tend to not be quite as busy as technicians. Usually they're a little more flexible than your technician in the middle of summer, but you don't want to make it just like, wide open, right? No, I
yep,
agree. I
yep.
agree with that. I think that's a good point. What do you think when you go on a call, when you show up, you knock on the door, what tells you that the call was handled well before you arrive? Is there any signs when you walk in the door that you can tell this call was set up well?
Yeah, so, like, when I asked them, like, I asked them the basic questions like, just letting you know on the phone, they went over with you, this appointment's gonna take about 2 hours. When they're shocked, I
Yes.
know that time wasn't set because
There you go. That's
I'll
great.
guarantee the 3 quotes before me, 2 quotes before me, the one after me, whatever, if I don't win it, they're gonna be in and out of the house in under an hour. Like, these people do not spend time with people. They don't do a heat load. They don't look around the system. They don't do a safety inspection. They don't look at other things while they're not there. They don't do these things. So, I tell the customer, "You have a minimum of 2 hours?" And they're like, "Well, 2 hours? Like, I thought this was gonna be 30 minutes." Well, I know my receptionist either didn't spend enough time on it or they forgot, right? So then I'll tell them, "Is now a not good time?" Because the thing is if I spend 30 minutes on this, I'm not gonna really be able to offer you anything, be able to solve your solution. So we should reschedule this appointment.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. I would say that's one of the biggest things. And I've been there. I know you have. You walk in and when it hasn't been set up right, because you're right, they're shocked. Or the worst is, and what's good about what you just said, Andy, in that every selling tech, even just a technician going on a service call, sales call, doesn't matter, is when you get in that door, make sure the customer understands why you're there, and make sure those expectations were set. Like you said, make sure they're prepared to spend 90 minutes, 2 hours with you before you even get started, because I made the mistake of not doing that. I'm sure
Mhm.
you have too. And you walk in and all of a sudden you're doing your process, you're going through the thing, and they're looking at their watch like, hey man, I gotta get out of here in like 10 minutes. And
Yep.
now what do you do? Right now you're stuck and now you can't even
Or
finish.
or you get through your whole process and you're like, all right, I'm gonna build some options with you, and then we'll
Yeah.
go over and see what you're doing. And they're like, can you just email me? I gotta leave in 5 minutes. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, I'm an idiot. Yeah,
Oh, it's the worst. It's the
yeah,
worst. So very important for the comfort advisors and the techs to verify that when they get out, that's a big part of what the CSR should be doing, especially on sales calls, is making
yeah,
sure that 60 to 90 minutes, or like you said, 2 hours, I think is even better,
yep,
is set aside. Well, why is it going to take that long? The last guy only
yep.
was here 15 minutes, and then you got to give your CSRs give them the why. I'm big on that. The CSRs have to know why they're saying what they're saying.
Yep.
Why do we need 2 hours, Andy?
Well, the reason we need 2 hours, Corey, is because one, I'm going to look at everything. So I'm going to look at your thermostat. I'm going to look at your condenser outside. I'm going to go in the attic, look at your system. I'm going to see how much insulation you have in the attic so I can inform you. Not trying to sell you crap. I just want to inform you what's going on. I'm going to check your duct system. I'm going to go outside, check your electrical panel. If you have a water heater in the garage, I like taking a picture of that, making sure it's working safe for you. Just a free charge because I know what I'm doing here. Add a little bit more
Mm.
value. And then my favorite thing, most important thing that most people don't do, Corey, is I'm going to do a little thing called a heat load. Have you heard of a heat load? And then I get into the explanation of
A
what I
heat
actually have to
load?
do. And they're like, oh, I've had 3 people here and I've never even heard that term. Really? Well, I
Yep.
can't sell you a system unless I do a heat load, so I don't know what those other guys are doing. You know what? Maybe they're going to do the heat load after they sell you a system.
I love it. I think the heat load is something every company should do, but as you know, a lot don't. A
Uh,
lot
most
don't.
most don't.
Yeah, most don't. But there you go. That's why it's even more of a valuable because a lot don't. And it's just it also gives a big thing that I focus on is teaching CSRs how to handle customers asking for prices over the phone. There's a right and a wrong way to do that. And it's not just, oh, we don't get prices over the phone, we need to send somebody out. We want to first redirect, right?
Yep.
Well, hey, that's a great question. And we won't get into all that now, but we want to redirect and start asking questions, learn more about the
Yeah,
situation,
of course.
show them that we care, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But one big thing is that heat load is that's a good reason for the CSR to be able to explain to the customer that, hey, my favorite line, Andy, is, and my dad taught me this one, is we don't want to do guesswork with your hard earned money, right?
Mhm.
We don't want to do guesswork. And that's what we're doing. When we don't come out and we're just going to quote you a price over the phone or we're not going to do a heat load, we're just doing guesswork with your hard earned money. Is that what you want? No, nobody
Yep,
wants that, right?
yep.
And so it adds so much more value doing that. And so it's a little bit harder if you're not, just to everybody listening. You can still, because as long as you're going out, you're looking at the home, you're looking at the windows, you're looking at the ductwork. I mean, I find it so crazy, Andy, how many companies go out there and they quote replacement and they don't even look at the ductwork. They don't even look in the attic.
They
I
don't
mean,
go
that
in the
is
attic,
just
Corey. That's my so you hit a pain point for me. I didn't want to interrupt. I'm a little ADD if you didn't notice, so I'm like, I've been thinking about it. But
yeah.
like the pain point is I'll go to someone's house, they have 2 quotes, and they said, Andy, I'm just letting you know I'm not buying today. I have one more quote, and then I'll call the person I want to do work with. Is that fair? You always agree. Yep, that's perfectly fine, even though I know I'm going to push hard at the end. But I'm going to tell them, okay, so I'm done with the heat load. You have a 4 ton
Yep.
system. I need 4 tons of cooling, so we're dead on. You're good. The last thing is most important thing. Actually need to go in the attic. Where's your access? And they go, oh, you need to go in the attic? I'm like, yeah, it's probably the most important part about my process. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
the last 2 guys didn't go up there. I'm like, okay. Well, again, I need to go up there because there's no way possible I can go over anything if I don't go in your attic. You can install the right system and have the wrong size return, and you're actually going to waste money instead of saving money. So, like, it's just, yeah, I need to go in the attic, and I'll explain why when I'm done.
Insulation, is your
Bro,
return properly
bro,
sized?
come
So
on.
so
No.
one thing I give CSRs is when a customer's pushing back, they go through it, they redirect, they start asking questions. And one thing they ask the customer, if the customer's looking for a price over the phone, we never tell the customer no, by the way. We just start
No.
asking questions, right? We redirect. And one question we ask is, do you know the tonnage and sear that you need? And as you know, tonnage and sear is the biggest factor to price, right?
Yep. Yep.
The tonnage and steer. And a lot of customers don't know that. If they do know that, that tells you they probably already got a quote. Sometimes they tell you that, but then I have a
Yeah.
whole list of questions we asked. Do you know what
Yep.
type of system you have? Is it upflow? Is it downflow? Is it horizontal? Does your line set need to be changed out? Is your return
Yep.
properly sized? Is your ductwork the right size? Is the drain line need to be replaced? And so we start asking these questions,
Mhm.
and then we ask the customer, do you happen to have any of this information? What do you think the answer is most of the time?
No, because I deal with this on a daily basis. So we
Mm,
redirect the conversation to someone that knows more information. Corey calls in, ring, ring. I'm Andy. I'm in the call center. Yeah. So I can't give you a price on the phone, but someone can. I'm going to have a comfort specialist call you, the
there
person
you
that
go.
actually would come out to your house. So let me get your name,
Yes.
number, address, email, everything. Because the phone call, you have a phone number. You don't even know if that's the correct phone number. So get all the information, get the address, get everything. Be like, okay, cool. I'm going to have someone call you in the next 10 minutes. His name's Andy. Have a great day. And Andy's going to call and ask those questions. Be like, hey, so the reason why we have to come out there is because
Yes.
of this list of 40 things. Like my favorite one is they're like, it's on the roof. I'm like, okay, is it an over under or side by side roof jack? And they're like, I'm like, is right. So this is a huge difference. I can give you a price on the phone. It could be $3-4 grand difference when I get out there, less or minus, minus or plus, because I don't know what I'm looking at here. But if you go up to the roof and take some videos, maybe we can go from there. And I'll ask them to do things like, I need you to go in the app and I need you to FaceTime me when you're up there. I'll walk you through. Oh, I can't do that. Okay, well, if you have 15 minutes, I can stop by. It's pretty funny.
Right, right. Go on and do it.
Yep.
That's such a good point, Andy. And I think you're right. If I like getting CSRs cross trained to be confident to handle that, but getting it to the comfort advisors even better, right? Having that process where it goes because you're the sales guy, you
Uh-huh.
know the right questions to
Yeah.
ask.
And
So
then
having the
giving them a
scripts from the
crazy
CSRs is important.
range, Corey, a crazy range. So like, you're like,
Yes,
yeah, I can give you a price, 12 to 40.
there you go.
I don't know
And
what it's
that's a
going to be,
great one.
Corey. I have no idea. Maybe, hey,
Yeah, number
Corey,
one.
maybe I get over there and you don't need to replace your system. Maybe I get over there
Yeah.
and all these companies that quoted you, really, it's a small repair and a bigger return. Maybe you don't need a new unit. I'm going to look out for your best interest. I'm going to give you 7 quotes.
Yeah. Yeah. One line I like to use as well is when customers are pushing on price over the phone, I say exactly what you just said, Andy. Is like I could tell you a price now could be completely different when we come out, and we fear that's unfair. It's kind of like a bait and switch, right? And some companies might do that. They'll tell you a low number, and then they come out and it's completely different. Or the worst is, I always like giving a no surprise guarantee. And customers love this because and just to honor my dad on this one he came up with many years ago is no surprises. Most customers have had those experiences where they hire a contractor for a certain amount, they sign a contract, and then the contractor comes back and says, "Oh, it's actually going to be X amount more," halfway through the job or after the
Right.
job is finished. That ain't fair to the customer, right?
No,
So no
no.
surprises here. We're going to come out, we're going to evaluate the home, we're going to figure out exactly what's needed, the perfect system for your home, for your budget, everything you need, and there's going to be no surprises later on. I can't do that by giving you a price over the phone, right? If
Correct.
I'm going to give you
Yeah.
that guarantee, or if I'm going to give you 100% satisfaction, 100% money back guarantee, there ain't no way. I got to come see it. I want to make sure that every single person in that home is 100% satisfied with what we're going to do, right? And that
And,
ties into having all decision makers there as
right.
well. Go on and finish. I think you want to say something there, then we'll
Oh,
transition
no,
into
it's just
that.
it hit me when you were saying that. So another big thing nowadays is not even the phone call. They'll call and say, "What do you mean you can't give me a quote? These other companies had an online store, and I got a quote. I got a quote online for a system." I'm like, "Yeah, I have an online store too, but again, all those systems are at full price, and we don't even know what we're dealing with here." But let me tell you something, Corey. The problem with the online store is a lot of my competitors have it, and they have this killer deal, 7,000 for a brand new system, and you go on there and buy it. You swipe your credit card, and then I come over to your house and sell you 12 grand worth of crap. Because all I gotta do is tell you this, Corey. Here's your $8,000 system, and then I come over to your house and say, okay, your return's undersized. You don't have enough insulation. You have no plenums. You have no drain pan. None of this is included. But the thing is you've already purchased a unit. You can't get out of it. So now
Yeah.
you're stuck. And if you don't do these extra things, I can't give you a warranty. I'm gonna void it.
Yep.
And now you're
No,
stuck and you
that's
feel robbed. I don't want to do that to you, Corey. I want to provide you solutions and go over with what you want to go over.
That's so true. That's so true. One thing before we move on price over the phone, because this is a big thing we deal with, and a lot of call centers, a lot of CSRs, a lot of managers are going to be dealing with it throughout this summer, right? People are going to be calling, "Hey, I need a price. I want a second opinion. Can I get a price over the phone?" And so we need to be prepared for this. If there's anything we need to be prepared for in the call center, it's this and how we're going to handle these situations. But I always like to go to the why. Why is this important? And so let me ask you this, Andy. If we were to give a customer a price over the phone, we said it's like a bait and switch. Now we know why giving prices over the phone hurts the company, right? Absolutely. It's very clear. Why does that hurt the customer? Let's just clarify
Well,
that real quick. Why does giving a price over
because
the phone hurt the customer?
maybe they had a quote from the last guy, and the last guy actually knew what he was talking about and said, "I recommend that you get an inverter, variable speed system." You and I
Hmm.
both know, Corey, if someone installs an inverter and doesn't add 2 or 3 returns, they're kind of screwing themselves. And a lot of the
Right.
time, they have to actually upsize the supply as well, because between you and I, you don't want to say it to the customer, but if their static pressure is too high on the return or the supply, we're screwed. And then this variable speed system that you were going to cut your electricity bill by 30 to 50%, you're actually going to pay the exact same your single stage pay you were at last year, because you didn't look at the ductwork and we didn't properly, do it correctly.
Right.
So it's actually going to cost you
100%.
more money to run, and you paid 20 grand for the system.
100%. 100%.
Or, hey,
All right, let's
this is
get
going
into
to solve all your hot rooms. No, it's not. Not unless you do the ductwork correctly.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. So let's get into this now. So we talked about time expectations, some of the important things that we need to do. So the next thing we'll talk about is the trust transfer from the office to the field, and what should the call center accomplish before the technician ever knocks on the door or the comfort advisor ever knocks on the door. So we've already talked about some of this. We went over
Mhm.
handling price concerns over the phone. We went over time expectations, which I think is huge. One we haven't touched on yet is getting all decision makers to the table. Now, this is a touchy one. Some people just ignore this altogether. Some people do it wrong and come across salesy. So I want to get your take on that. How does your team handle that? Making sure, I've had comfort advisors I talked to recently say, "Oh, I never close on the first call." One guy told me recently that he had
What?
like a 60% closing ratio on marketed leads, and he never closes on the first call. Now, don't get me wrong, I've seen guys do that, but I feel like you got to have it's like just for them. Like they just got their own thing that works for them, but I would never recommend that to anybody else. But tell me about it, Andy.
Corey, let's hope to God that guy leaves and Andy Hobikin doesn't come in after him.
Exactly.
'Cause I'm not leaving without the sale. Like,
Right.
I'm
Right.
not 100%, but like, no, man,
Right.
if you leave the house, you're probably not getting the sale. You have to have that mindset.
I agree. I
You
agree. I
have to.
think it's
Have to.
crazy. I like to be the
That's
last
nuts.
one in the door too. I always like to be the last one in the door. And
Well,
so if I find out
everyone does, right?
yeah, yeah. If I find out that I'm the first one or the second one they're getting more, I always make a reason why I got to pop back by for 15 minutes so I can be
Or
that last one before they make a decision,
or you could
before I
just
give
close
my
it right there,
price,
Corey. Or you could just close
or
it right
close it
there.
right there. Yep, close it right there, or
Well,
pop
there
back
has to
by.
be a need, right? If they're getting 5 quotes and you're gonna close it right there, you better have
Yeah,
some real big decision, like why the customer actually has to decide today, and that customer
yeah.
better be in love with you in 2 hours.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's good stuff. So having decision makers there. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So how important is that for those expectations to be set on the phone?
So you're not gonna like my answer.
Okay.
I could care less who I'm quoting.
Okay. All right. So you're not
So
worried about one leggers.
no, like 2 leggers is an easy sale, but
Right.
sales isn't easy.
Yep. I hear you.
You do not need both people there to sell it. 99% of the time, the husband and wife talked about it the night before.
Okay. That's good.
They
I
have a
like it.
budget. They came up with something. I know I do. If I'm getting a quote on something, my wife's like, shit, like, is this in our budget? I'm like, well, I don't know, like 10, 12 grand, like probably
Hmm.
max. So we want to probably stay around 10. But I'm not going to tell that to the salesperson. But like, come
Right.
on, dude, you know as well as I do, the guy didn't set up a sales appointment for you to come over to his house. He has cameras everywhere. His wife can see him, and his wife doesn't know you're there. Yeah, right.
Right.
Come on, bro. Come on.
No, that's good. That is great. And you're 100% right to think about that. So we know
And then
that
real quick, you have to get uncomfortable and ask the people like, well, you need to talk to your wife? Okay, let's get them on the phone. Okay, let's do this. Like
yeah.
I have 7 different overcome objections like in that scenario to where we could role play if you want. But the thing is like when people are like, oh, if your wife's not here, I'm not gonna give you a quote. Well, I'm gonna kill that guy the next year. Like they're not doing the numbers I'm doing. So it's just the fact of that you can't let a one-legger call kill your mojo, excuse my French.
I gotcha. So no, I agree. It's having highly trained sales guys that know how to handle that situation. Also to
Mhm.
understand that most of the time the objection that I need to talk to somebody else is usually a smokescreen. It's not real. They
Always.
don't. And
Yep.
so 100% agree with you, Andy, that it's more of a sales training problem and,
Yep.
and how you guys are handling that situation than it is the call center, right?
Correct.
So I've heard it over and over again. You wouldn't believe the amount of company advisors that I've heard complain. Oh, they're not. I'm getting set up on one leggers. I'm getting set up on one leggers. That's why I'm not closing deals. Now I hear what you're saying. Now I'm a big advocate of training CSRs to make sure decision makers are at the table. I got a whole process for that works very well. Because like you said, it does make it easier, right? So if we can try to do that, then hey, that's even better. But it should not be an excuse for your
No.
comfort advisors to say, "Oh, these are all one-leggers, I can't close."
Well,
So
people that I
what like you
train
just
give
said.
me that excuse, right? They'll give me that
Yes.
excuse like, well, I'm at like a 42% closing rate right now. It dropped because I'm getting all these one-leggers. I'm like, okay, well, I'm at 79% and all I run is one-leggers.
So there's no excuse there.
No, there isn't.
That's awesome. That's great insight, Andy. I feel that's so true. So one thing, just briefly, to give everybody a little idea of what I teach is setting the time expectations. It could be 60, 90 minutes, 2 hours, making sure that it is set in the customer's mind. That's huge. And then just letting the customer know, and I'll say something like this, John, we do ask that all involved in this project. I don't like saying decision makers. I feel like that sounds salesy. right? Just say, all involved in this project, be present, and the reason, and I give the customer the why behind it. Because we all know if I tell somebody to do something, I don't give them the why, they're probably not going to do it. I want the customer to be motivated to do it. So John, the reason is, Andy's going to go over a lot of different options with you when he arrives, and it can be very hard to pass that information on to somebody else. So we just want to make sure anybody involved in this project is going to have questions, is there and is present with Andy. That way all your questions can be answered and you guys can make the best decision for your home. And then I'll ask the question after I say that. And that's just one version, right? You can give different reasons of why, right? But the key is you don't just want to say, hey, make sure all involved in this project are present and stop. You want to say, make sure all involved in this project are present. And here's why that's important. Because when you tell the customer why that's important, they're gonna say, oh, okay. Well, I need to have and this is the point I want to make. I need to have my son here because he's the executor of my estate. I need to have or my dad here. This is my first time, buying a house, and I want my dad here, or whatever the case may be. And so it's not always just husband and wife. So you give them the why that motivates them. But then I always close with an ask. I say, is there anyone you normally like to have with you when you do something like this? And I'll ask them that question, and then they think. Because if we're just talking, they're probably not listening. But we ask them a question, they go, well, I probably should make sure my wife's here. I probably should make sure my son's here. And I just give the example of my mom. As you know, Andy, my dad passed away 3 years ago, and they had a very traditional relationship. My dad handled all that kind of stuff, right? And so my mom's handling all that stuff now, and she really leans on me before she does stuff. And so the process will work like this. If my mom called your company and said, hey, I need to get an estimate, and the CSR didn't verify any of that. Now, if they sit you out, Andy, I'm sure you would sell my mom without me there. They're
Well, no, I wouldn't. Out of respect, Corey, I wouldn't. I would get you on a Zoom call.
There you go. So, and that's how you need to train your sales guys. Everybody listen to this. Your sales team needs to know how to handle one-leggers. It cannot be an excuse.
But if I go to
right?
a lady's house, and she's above 70, it's coming out of my mouth. Hey, before we go over this, is there going to be anybody else involved in this? Because the last thing I want, Susan, is you to pick an option, us to make you really happy, and then your son to think that I tried to rip you off. That's the last thing I want. What I want is I want you to be happy, and I want your son to become a customer too.
Yes, absolutely. And that is exactly what you should do. And so I love the verification. You can't just count on the call center to do everything for you, right? We're going to train them. We want them to, right? But you got to verify those things when you come out. So one thing that would be helpful, Andy, for you, if you're running the sales call for my mom, is for the CSR to do that up front and have me at the table. That would make it a little easier on you, even though you're trained, you're highly qualified, you know how to do it. But it'd be nice to have me there sitting at the table, right? Build that rapport and relationship with me. And so if you didn't do that, let's say you go out and typically, you're going to do your process, you're going to give the quote, and my mom's going to say, oh, well, I need to talk to my son. And like you said, what you do is verify that up front. Everybody should be trained to do that. It's going to make it easier on your team, though, having that person there, because if you gave, say, an elderly person, and I'm not going to call my mom elderly, she'd kill me, right? She's not. She's a beautiful young woman.
Beautiful young woman.
If you give, what is she, 61 now?
Beautiful.
She looks not a day over 30. So, so if you were to give my mom just a quote, she's then going to send that to me. And what am I going to look at, Andy?
You're going to look at the
Am
price?
I going to look at any of the volumes of the price? Oh, that's high. Let's get 3 more quotes, right? And so that's what's going to happen. So
we got to pause right here. We got to pause because no one does this, and I'm going to give it away because, guys, I'll speak at conferences. I'll speak at Service Nation, 10,000 people. I'll give everyone the secrets, and 2 people freaking implement it. So,
right.
FYI, this is going to be the best part about this podcast. Everyone listen up. So, yes, you want to send that quote, but let's say they're not allowing you to talk to the son, not allowing you to talk to the husband or like someone else that's involved in the estate or whatever. All the pictures and videos that you have, you better guarantee that your customer has those so they can send them to their son, to their husband, to whatever. They can watch them as well. Because I don't care if you're a service technician, a selling technician, or a comfort advisor, you better have a minimum of 20 pictures and 3 videos.
Love it.
And then, hey, let me give you all these videos. I'll airdrop in your phone right now. And now what am I doing? I'm gaining a cell phone, which I might not have already. I'm gaining this. And then now they have 5 videos and 20 pictures to when the husband comes home, when the son comes over, and you couldn't close it. And they're like, I got my 3rd quote, but man, this guy blew everyone out of the water. Look at these videos he showed. Look how he's going to do this. He guaranteed he's going to solve our hot room by doing this. He just gave it to us. Like, this is great. You're going to be the only one that did that.
Yeah, that's a great tip, Andy. Thank you for sharing that with everybody. I hope everyone applies that and takes it. like you said, you give so much advice, so many great things, and there's only a handful of people that actually take it and do something with it.
Yep.
Well, more power to them, right?
Yep. Hey, how about this, bro? Do you train your CSRs, the people that you coach? Do you train them to send a video when they book the appointment?
Train them to send a video. So sending a video of what? Now tell me about this. No, I do not.
The comfort advisor that's introducing themselves and what they're all about their family and their values.
Okay, so when we book a replacement sales call, you send a text and an email of the video of the comfort advisor coming out.
Yep.
No, I have not trained on that, but I'm going to now. So tell me a little bit about
Hey,
it.
hey, hey, it's Andy Hobica Services, or hey, it's Corey Hutcherson, with Hobica Services. I'm going to be the one that's coming out to your house. A couple of things that I want you to get ready for me is if there's a special place you want me to park, please call me at 602-721 whatever, or email me here. If there's certain things you want me to do, and don't worry, I'm going to have shoe covers with me or floor savers. And this is basically how the call is going to go. We need a minimum of 2 hours and all this stuff. So when you get up to the door, all the stuff we went over in the beginning, it's already gone.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mm.
Well, Andy, I will.
Oh,
I
and then
will.
hey,
I
wait,
will
wait,
be,
and then
I will be taking that.
add some intimate stuff in there. Be like, I'm Andy Hobica, and I'm a father of 3, and I'm happily married to Pearl. And if you're a family person, we're gonna get along because, man, being a father is the best thing in my life, and this is why I'm actually here. This is why I'm actually gonna come over to your house and try to offer you a product that is gonna improve your life. Because in entail, I'm gonna be able to make my life better and my family. And like, you have this big connection that no one else does.
That's so good. Yeah, because one thing I want to talk about on here, and that really hits the nail on the head, is what the best companies do differently. And I would
Mhm.
say that's one thing, is because we know the most important thing. You can have all you get. There's a lot of things you need to know in sales, right? You get all the best techniques, everything like that. But the most important thing is rapport and trust with the customer, right? Because once you're in rapport and you have the customer's trust, it's pretty easy from there because they trust you. And so I feel like that's just such a great way to get in rapport with the customer before you even arrive to the home, is having that video. The CSR does an amazing job, and then
Mhm.
that video layers on top of that. And
And then let's
that
stack one
is
more on top of that, bro. One
let's
more
do
key
it.
point for you that you're gonna love. Now, I call this an Andy Hobica classic because I may have heard it somewhere, but I'm telling you right now, I thought of it myself, and now I know like 5 trainers, buddies of mine, that use it in their trainings, which I'm fine with. Like everyone needs to know, and everyone should be doing it. So you sent that video. Hopefully they watched it, and now it's day of I'm coming out, right? So it's
Yeah.
7:05, and I'm gonna be at your house at 8 o'clock, and I'm gonna call ahead. You better be calling ahead. People text or
Yes.
send that notification. You have to call. Now, let's say I
Hmm.
get Corey on the phone. So we're going to role play a little bit, Corey. You're Corey. You're
Okay.
the customer. Ring a ring. You're answering the phone.
Hello.
Hey, is this Corey?
It is.
Corey, it's Andy with Hobica Services. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. AC's acting up though. Looking forward to
Yeah,
getting this thing
yeah.
replaced.
So we're on for our appointment about an 8 to 8:30 arrival.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking
Beautiful.
forward
Hey,
to it.
did you get that video in that email text message that was sent over of me describing what was going on?
I did. I did. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We try to make that connection with customers. Hey, Corey, I'm going to be on my way. I'm going to be right on time about 8:05. I'm going to stop and get some gas at Quick Trip when I'm on the way. Every morning when I get gas, I go in and get a coffee. Is there anything I can grab you, Corey? And hey, Corey, before you say no, if you allow me to buy you a drink or a snack, I get to turn the receipt in and I get my drink for free. So what can I get you? Hook a brother up.
Huh, I'll do some coconut water.
You
Feel a
got
little
it. How about 2 of
dehydrated.
them?
Let's do it.
You got it,
How
buddy.
about three? How about three?
Yeah,
Can
you
we
got
beat
it.
the
So the thing that people get stuck on, and I'll coach people and we'll role play, and then they'll go through it. I'm like, okay, you missed the most important part. They ask, hey, Corey, is there something I can get you? Corey's going to say
Yeah,
no because everyone says
exactly.
no.
Most people
I
do.
don't let you say no. I interrupt you and say, Corey, is there anything I can get you? And hey, Corey, before you say no, if you accept my order and I get to buy you something, I get my drink for free, man. Hook me up.
I love it. That's a great tip. Asking if there's something that they need, and then making it not making it an option. And what does that do? What does that do for the sales process when you do something
Dude, it
like that?
relieves so much like of that tension. And then when you walk up to the door, Corey, what's up, brother? Andy, am I parked in a good location? Dude, I got those 3 coconut waters. I'm so glad you accepted it because I got my 2 energy drinks for free. I really appreciate you, brother. So now what does that do? That creates this like, I'm not there to sell you something. Now we're kind of friends. It created this
Yeah.
like relationship of like, this guy just hooked me up and we both took advantage of his boss.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also is that
But
principle
you're doing
too
something
of,
wrong.
yeah. But when you give somebody something, they are start to feel a little bit of an obligation to you as well. So there's that psychological aspect of it as well. So
Same
that's
as like what
great stuff.
waiters do, right? So like
Yep,
the smartest waiters in the world say, "Hey Corey, I hope your experience was great. I'm gonna go get the check. Hey, I'm not supposed to do this, but would you like an iced tea to go?"
that's great. That's great. Andy, where do you think most companies often break trust before the appointment even starts?
On the
Like
phone
between the
or like
well, yeah, I would say
yeah.
between start with the phone call to
Mhm.
before the technician even arrives. Where do you think the biggest trust breakers points where they called in, they wanted an estimate, from that the interaction with the CSR till the moment we pull in that driveway. What do you think it was a few like you just gave one that's
Okay.
a mega trust builder. What are some
Mhm.
trust breakers that a lot of companies make the
When
mistake?
when you give a time window, the technician doesn't show up in the time window, and there was no
Big
call
one.
ahead to let them know they're running late.
Big one. That's a call center thing, right?
You got to
Setting
have
proper
someone
time
watching the
windows.
entire board and be like, "Oh, look, it's 11:15. He's not going to make this noon call. I better call this person." That never happens. It's like, well, dude, like 2 o'clock, the tech shows up. The person is not home. They got irritated. They use someone else, or they're calling in the worst one. They're calling in, Corey. It's 11:49. No one's called me. What the hell? Oh, he's running late. It's like, no, just cancel the appointment. You should have called
Yep.
me.
That's it. That's a big one. That's the first one that popped in my mind too, Andy, is you got to set those proper expectations with when the techs arrive. Somebody's got to be like a hawk on that dispatch board. You can't
Has
let
to.
things just and if they're not going to show up in that first half hour, you need to update them, right? Because customers, no matter how you phrase it, how you say it, if you give somebody a 2 hour window, they're going to be there sometime between 2 and 4. The customer hears what?
Two.
They hear 2. And
That's
if
all
you're
they
not
hear.
there at 2, you're late and they're pissed off, right?
Correct.
And so if we're not going to show up at 2, we need to be communicating. Here's what's going on, and customers will appreciate that. But even if they keep the appointment at that point and we showed up late, even if we showed up in that 2 hour window, let's say we show up at 3 or 3:30, and to us, technically we're on time, right? But they're already pissed. So we're already starting this on a bad front. They're already upset. Why didn't you get here
Yep.
at 2? And it's yeah, I would say that's probably one of the biggest trust builders. Anything else you can think of that we kind of butcher before we get there?
Yeah, maybe promising things when you can't hold that promise, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. Got
time's
it.
one of them. Some people like we offer a lot of promo products at Hobica. Some people will be like, and don't forget to ask your technician for a meat thermometer. How are we sure that that person has a meat thermometer on them? So like they're supposed to
Right.
keep like 20 of them on them, but what if they went to 20 homes? So where I would much rather ask the technician to where they just offer it to the homeowner instead of setting it up because something that
Yeah.
small could just ruin your entire appointment.
Yeah. So I'm big on building value. I think
Yep.
it's important to build value around the comfort advisor, around the technician. Say
Yep.
really good things about your tech,
Yeah.
about your comfort advisor.
Huge.
Say really good things about the company, all right,
Yep.
about what we do. Set expectations about what they're going to do when they come out. Okay. They're going to give you a beat thermometer, right? But like you said, there's a balance to that. Yes, you want to build a lot of value. You want to talk good about our process and what we do, and so that customer has proper expectation and sees the perceived value of having somebody come out, right? But you don't want to go too far with that where you overpromise. You make it sound maybe a
Correct.
little too good, and
Yeah.
then we
Yeah.
can't deliver on that stuff
Like,
like
Corey,
the
I
meat
can't wait
thermometer.
for Al to come out and fix your air conditioning unit. I'm not even sure we're going to be able to fix it today. We're actually coming out to create a relationship with the customer, and hopefully we can
Yeah.
take care of you today.
Yes. Building value, but setting the proper expectation. So if I say,
Yep.
hey, your tech's coming out in a fully stocked truck, that means he has all the parts and tools he needs to get you cool air today. Now, if I just stop there, that could be bad. That built a lot
It
of
could be
value,
really
but what
bad.
if
Your bad
but
compressor
what if
that's
but
not
what
on
if
the
he
truck.
can't? So I got to set expectation. Now, John, there are occasions where we have to order a special part or need special tools that requires us to come back for a second visit. But I let them know, hey, our goal, we definitely want to get you cool air, but there's sometimes that we need special things or a special part.
We'll do
It's
everything in
building
our
the
power. We'll do everything in our
yes.
power to get you comfortable today.
Yes, yes, and you know the importance of that. What I don't like to see is techs go out there and the customer has a bad contact or a capacitor, and we don't have that. That's bad,
No.
right?
No,
That 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 is
that's the technician's in trouble.
right. That's bad
Yeah.
stuff. So a fully stocked
Yeah.
truck doesn't mean we have absolutely everything in the world on our truck, right? So you got to make sure the customer understands that. But it does mean that we have most things, most common repairs, because we want to
Correct.
get the customer cool, and that's always our goal. And I know a lot of companies. Do you guys do? If you can't get them cool air today, do you offer in some occasions the portables?
Percent.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of them to where we'll have the ones that we let customers use if like the parts on back order or we can't get the part or till over the weekend we'll help them out. And then we also use the portables in a sales position if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, sure.
All my comfort advisors carry 3 to 4 portables in the back of their vans or trucks during the summertime to get
That's awesome.
to get sales that day, right? So, "Hey, Corey, it's 110 outside, it's 130 inside your house. You have one more quote, or I can actually get your bedroom and your family room freezing by the time I leave. How does that sound? How are you going to do that? Well, I'm going to give you these portable systems. I'm going to hook up one in your master bedroom and one in the family room where you guys watch TV. So by the time your wife gets home, she might be a little upset that you move forward, like you're saying, but she's going to be really happy that her bedroom's freezing for tonight. And I made it happen.
Yes.
And even better, Corey, is when I'm done with the whole job, you get to keep these portables.
Love it.
Dude, the
So important.
portables, you buy them in bulk. You can even buy them in like we bought our last batch on Temu, and they were $85 a piece.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to put a number to that, then it won't be perfect. But how many deals do you think you're able to close just because of that?
30%
As
more.
far 30% more. So is that, I mean, you do the
Huge.
numbers on that based on what you're
Millions.
investing in portables. Yeah, it is.
Millions.
It's crazy not
'Cause
to.
I've had
And I talked
customers
to,
that are literally like, "I have to give 4 quotes." I'm like, "That's fine. It's all good
yep,
because you have a 3-day right to refusal, Corey. So you can give me a down payment. We can get everything ordered. We can get it installed on Friday. Today's Tuesday. We'll install the portables. If you decide on canceling and going with someone else, you'll owe me for the portables. They're 250 a piece."
yeah. And I talked to so many companies that don't have them, Andy. They just don't have them. They don't get it. And so that's a great tip.
Mhm.
Have
Yeah.
portables. We're getting ready to move into summer. Now's the time to buy them.
Correct.
Get them today.
Yeah.
So important. We covered a lot of this, just objections. Is there any objections that are inherited by how the call was set up that you think? I know we talked about one objection is, hey, I'm out of time. We already talked about that. Another one is, I need to talk to my spouse. We already talked to that. Anything else you can think of? Is there anything else the call center can be doing to help
Yeah, so
overcome objections before they become one?
yeah, I like one when they basically tell customers, "Hey, just letting you know that most of our customers qualify for one of our promos, our low monthly payments. So if that's an option for you and you're most likely going to do that, you let us know." And they're like, "Oh, what do you mean financing?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, financing is an option, but when you're not paying interest, we don't look at it about financing. So we have some no interest options. And if you're interested in that, what I can actually do is before Andy comes out, when I'm going to send you a link and it can get you pre-qualified for the loan itself and basically do a soft pull. So it's actually not going to hurt your credit."
That's great. So pre-qualifying, I was just going to ask you that. So what were your thoughts on getting customers pre-approved before even going out? I think
Well,
that's
you
a
just
great
ask
thing.
customers like straight up, like, are you most likely going to be paying a low monthly payment or paying for it with cash if you decide to use our company? And
Yeah,
they're like, "Well, yeah,
yeah,
I don't finance anything." I'm like, "Well, not technically financing. We actually have options like 12 months no interest. So you can leave your money alone and pay for it in 12 months, but that's really up to you." "No, I pay everything with cash." "Great. Make sure you put in your comfort advisor's notes that they pay for everything with cash." So then the comfort advisor makes it a big deal and says, "I'm so glad you're paying with cash. We have a cash discount."
that's great. That's great. Let me ask you this. I think that's getting customers pre-approved. While we're on that, I'm a big believer in making sure everybody in the call center is cross-trained and to some level, right? But
Mhm.
I believe you should have, especially for a larger company, specialty positions, right? So with your company, Andy, do you have somebody that's more of your sales coordinator that handles replacement sales calls? Like if somebody calls us, hey, I want an estimate for a new system, it automatically gets transferred to that person or those CSRs, or does everybody just do it all?
So I do, but not that
Okay.
person can't take all the calls.
Okay. Right. I
So yeah,
agree.
everyone's trained. We do training daily and date
Hmm.
and like 3 days a week. We listen to CSR's phone calls live with all the CSRs in the room,
Love
and
it.
then we like without the CSR talking. Everyone gives two things. Everyone in the room gives one thing they thought they did really well and one thing they can improve on, and then the CSR that actually gets to talk afterwards gets to talk. But it's all helpful criticism for everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I agree. Yeah, you should have a sales coordinator, somebody that specializes in because I'm a big believer in this, and you know this, Andy, is how you set up a service call is different from how you set up a replacement sales call. It's a different type of call. Everybody in your call center should be trained on how to do both. Everybody should be cross trained, but as you grow, you definitely want to have that special sales coordinator that is just focused on that. They just crush it in that area. But when they're not available, guess what? You want to make sure that that other CSR, they're ready to set up the comfort advisor or the selling technician for success. Man, Andy, this has been a great conversation. So much value. Before we close out, just on the lines of along the lines of what the best companies do differently. So you already gave a bunch of nuggets in that. Anything else you'd like to add on what the best companies do differently as far as, from the call center to the field with the selling techs and company advisors? Anything
Yeah,
else
so
you want to add?
getting the customer involved in your inspection. So, hey Corey, the next thing about my job is I'm going to go out and look at the unit. Okay, I'm going to look at the electrical panel. Hopefully, it's not locked, right? If it is, Greg, give me the key. I'm going to go in the garage. I'm going to go in the attic, and then I'm going to do a heat load. Would you like to be involved in this process, Corey, and walk around with me, or would you like me to just get it and then you go back to your office and I'll come and get you when you're done? What works better for you? A lot of people want to go
Absolutely.
around with you, and I'll tell you right now,
Hmm.
most comfort advisors aren't trained and aren't comfortable with the homeowner walking around with them. Corey, if you walk around with me, I'm not leaving that job without the sale. You're going to be my best friend in 2 hours.
That's it. That's the magic of getting the customer. I've had technicians get frustrated. Oh, I hate when customers stand over my shoulder. I love that. You're crazy because they don't
They
get it.
own the
That's
home, bro.
Yeah. That's the time to build rapport because your number one goal is to build trust and rapport. Once you
Oh
have
my
that, the
God,
sale's
Corey,
easy.
I'm so glad you're out here. Dude, come and look at this. You know what this is called?
Yeah.
This is a contactor. You see how it's real shiny on the top, but burnt on the bottom? Man, I got to tell you about this thing. Let me pull power so I can explain what this does. And if this fails, what it's going to do. You can't do that over video or on the, like you can, but it's not as powerful, man.
No, I agree. I think that's a great tip.
And then last thing, when you take the videos,
Yeah.
Corey, what we do, and a lot of people do this, but you're saying a lot of people don't take videos, which they don't. You could be a service technician, whatever. You want to make sure the video is directly to the customer and they know that it's not a fake video that you got offline or something you recorded
Yes.
last week.
Show
So,
their house. Show
hey,
something they
Corey,
recognize.
I'm on the roof right here with Andy, and here we are. Here's your system. Here's what we're looking at. First, and if you're on a service call, you want to go over something positive first. So, hey, Corey, I'm on the roof. There's my van. Obviously, we're in your yard. Here's your unit. Man, congratulations being on the maintenance plan. Everything is so clean in here. I haven't seen a system this clean in a long time. Being a customer of ours, this is what you get. But there is one thing I wanted to go over with you.
Yes. I like
And
how
then,
you
and then,
you
and then
started with
not
positivity.
yeah, and then not offering solutions, just saying what's happening and what could happen, and then ending the video saying, and Corey, just let me know if you have any questions. And when you come down and show that video,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, well, that thing's burning. What's that going to do? Well, I'm glad you asked. It can actually burn out the contactor, and it actually damage the compressor, and it would never turn off until it turns off. It can actually damage that and kill the system. Pathetically, probably not, but it could happen. What should we do? I'm glad you asked, Corey. Let me give you 3 different options. We can take care of this today.
Yeah. So important. So important.
Not building
And I like how you said,
until the customer asks you for them.
yeah, yeah. I like how
Don't
you
have your
started with
quotes ready.
positivity. Yeah. You started with saying something positive about their unit. I think that's key. Too many techs go right into the negative and the customer start getting defensive, right?
Correct.
So you want to start with, hey, this looks really good. Like I said, we've been doing a good job taking care of it. Hey, here's one thing I noticed. Always start with the positive. That
Yep.
is a key that everyone should practice. Man. So last thing, I got to add this in there. So we talked
Sure.
about the importance of setting up the call on the front end. So many great tips in here. What do you think about the use of AI in the call center today especially with setting up the types of calls we're talking
Yeah.
about? What's your take on that currently?
There's good and bad, right? So we're currently
Mhm.
using a portion of it. I don't like it, but there's a lot
Yeah.
of positivities. There's
Yeah.
negativity, but as well, our book rate is up 40%.
There you go.
Crazy. There are
Yeah.
upset customers like, I couldn't get someone on the phone. I'm like, I get it. I know your frustration. I'm sorry. But I tell them, but how many calls we missed before where we couldn't book? Our book rate's up 45%. Like, that's crazy.
We're helping more customers. Right.
Yeah.
You got to
So
look at the
there's
numbers.
and
That's what's
bads, right?
important.
So the
Yeah.
one thing I see and actually watch one of your videos, we actually dealt with this and actually improved it last week, was when you call and you say, I need a live person. You were interviewing that other guy, and then it looped it to a different AI. I'm like, no. You have to have someone, if you say live person, it better go to a live person.
Yes. That is something that we see so often. And so, as you know, AI is not plug and play. You don't just plug
No.
it in and think, oh, it's just magically going to take care of all my customers. No, there's a lot of configuration to be
Yes.
done and how it ties into your phone system, like you said, how it's routed. But that's something we see a lot, Andy, is like, hey, I need to talk to a person. So that's the biggest thing you're going to get.
Yes.
I love AI. I think it's great when it's used right, like you said.
Yes.
But man, when somebody says I need to talk to a person, you better have a human in the loop monitoring that thing and be ready to go because you'll lose customers really quick.
Lastly, one thing we learned 2 weeks ago, now we're doing it, it's helping out much better. When the AI does the appointment and then you get a notification that everything's booked, someone live better call that person to confirm everything.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
I'm having
You gotta
technicians
have-
go out to calls that work on HVAC equipment. They get there and they're like, I called in for a water heater flush. Why are you here?
Yep. Gotta have a human in the loop. Awesome. All right, let's close with this. And you can reiterate on one or you can add a new one. If an owner could improve just one thing in their call center to help comfort advisors and selling techs immediately, what should it be?
Check-ins with your people.
Okay.
Corey, haven't talked to you in a while. Hope you're having a great day. I'm going to set up some time next week for you to come in the morning prior to your day so I make sure that you're really on board with everything and there's nothing in your personal life or professional life I can support you in.
I love it. Check-ins with your people. I think that is phenomenal. Great final tip to add. Well, Andy, it has been a pleasure. I know the viewers are going to get a lot of value out of this. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for watching another episode of Booked or Busted Shop Talk Edition. Now, Andy, I do got to have you back because I do want to do a call. We're going to pick a
Sure.
company somewhere in the country, and
Great.
we're gonna do it together and score them. But this has been a great time. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time in another episode of Booked or Busted.